I'm going to give you a heads up on this Palestinian-Israeli conflict, or Hamas-Israeli conflict, however you want to look at it. And I'm going to try to ride the razor's edge middle that there is, if there is even a middle here. I'm going to try to find it, because that's what a reasonable, sensible person does. If you're on any of the extremes of this, you're the problem of the world, right? If you think, oh, the Israelis are genocide, or oh, the Palestinians are terrorists using their children as human shields, oh, the Israelis want to kill children, you're the fucking problem. It's not the Palestinians, it's not the Israelis, it's you. You are a one-sided, closed-minded piece of shit, and you and those people on both sides, you should be together and hanging out, because you have the most similarities, because you're all on the extremes of either side. Last time I did the video, I was, the Palestinian children and the way they were, the way it looked, I gave the Israelis, the Israelis a harder time. Even though I have family living in Israel, I gave them a harder time, and a woman in the comments said that I'm cursed, because I, didn't like the Palestinian children, running through the streets. But then, and that was the case, and I spoke to my family over there and what's going on and gathered opinions, and I'll deliver them to you now. What I don't like on that side, on the other hand, is after I saw that, it's nonstop showing children and bodies and this and that and saying, look at what the Israelis are doing. I wanted to find out exactly what it is. So here's an example of what's happening. Again, you got to be open-minded. I'm going to try to rise the center line. This is the man in Gaza that gets a phone call from Israel. Let's see what they're telling him.
ما قلنا لك في خرابه ورا ليش تهز الدور اللي قدام كمان شويه الضربه الكبيره من ورا ولا من وين ما قلنا لك في خرابه ورا ليش تهز الدور اللي قدام.
So listen, the Israelis, they give a courtesy to this man, okay? Let's say that they're going to hit his house and drop it, right? They're at war. So let's look at the two sides. They had the situation with the tenements and the buildings or wherever and the evictions and so on and so forth. 3,000 years ago it was my land. 2,000 years ago it was your land. It was this. It was Rome. It was here. It was there. Whatever. Figure out a way to work together and live together. That's really what you're going to have to come to do. No one's going anywhere. It's apparent. Only a fool would think that, right? Figure it out. Find a happy medium if there is one. If you can't, then battle each other till there's only one man standing. However, they had a tenement. It was relatively peaceful. They had a tenement situation. They ran up in the mosque or whatever, right? The Israeli authorities, because that's where they perceived the conflict. I don't know. I wasn't there. I can't say it. Hamas decided to fire rockets into Israel. They felt offended. They were enraged. They had to do something, and they fired those rockets. Now, if Israel didn't have an Iron Dome, those rockets would have killed a lot of people over time, right? If Israel didn't have an Iron Dome. But Israel does have an Iron Dome. They are, they've been a state that's been defending themselves since 1948. They have a lot of war experience. They know what they're doing. They have an Iron Dome. Those rockets did nothing. And then they started to hit back hard. They give this guy a call and they tell him they're going to drop his house. Let's see. And they definitely do it. Let's see how that looks. I wouldn't want to be this guy. I wouldn't want my house dropped. When they say they're going to drop your house, they're going to drop it. Now, what does that really mean? You know they dropped the AP building. First and foremost, when it comes to Israel and what they're doing and the world and the tweets and the this and that, don't mean a fucking thing. What a celebrity's tweeting in New York or in LA or some in Hollywood don't mean a fucking thing to them. This is what they're doing. Of course, you saw the AP building.
ربما استمعتم إلى هذه الغارة في المبنى الذي يظهر الآن في الصورة وتم يعني إبلاغ يعني أحد الآن.
They're dropping this building, right?
عدنان، هل أنت بخير؟ إذا كنت معرض لخطر يمكن أن تذهب الآن، لأن أنا أرى القصف يعني في واجهة المكان مباشرة.
Down it goes. I don't even know. I don't even know if that's the AP building. That's not even the AP building.
نعم
الصوت يا محمود راح.
نعم أتمنى أن تكون بخير عدنان. فعلا يبدو أن كان هناك ضربات تحفيرية وقصف المبنى بالكامل.
And they don't stop until the whole thing fucking falls. What you're seeing there, right? A lot of people who don't know a fucking thing about what's going on in the world, they think the Jews are going to be sitting there going like this, and they have the curls and this and that. This is an Israeli elite fighting force. They'll drop a building. They could call here in the Diamond District, hey, 64 West, get out. You got an hour. The whole shit's going to be rubble. Everything you see here is going to be dirt. This is a serious fighting force. They're not playing around. They got the rockets firing on. You know, obviously the Palestinian, the Hamas or whatever it is. I don't know too much about Hamas. I got to be honest with you. They were irritated and offended with the mosque and so on and so forth, and the way they were treated. They fired off those rockets. Israelis are dropping buildings right back. Sometimes they're giving a guy a call and they're saying, "Hey, your building's gonna drop. You and your family better get out of here." Other times, shit like this happens, where. By the time this video loads, the whole conflict will be over, I'm sure. But essentially, there's a guy that is stuck with, his building is dropped, he's calling for his mother, he's stuck inside, you know, whatever. A situation like that is sad and painful, like Seb Jitsu writes. All right? Palestinian man cries for his mother.
يما خليكي معي يما أمانة ما تسيبنيش يما العمل أمانة يما أمانة يما ما تسيبنيش العمل يما.
Listen, I don't blame the Palestinian people when they see something like this, that they're enraged. Right? But you have to see the conflict. Going to war. Going to war. Hamas, tunnels. I don't know anything about Hamas. I'm pretty sure you could do a better government than Hamas. You're going to war with Israel. Right? A very serious, this is a tiny strip of desert. If you look at the map of Israel and what they have, it's a tiny strip of desert, but they're organized and they're smart. And when they hit hard. There's not a lot of nations that could drop a precision building and say, okay, these two buildings right here are going to drop and the one in between them is going to stand. Of course, they're all damaged and so on and so forth. And their children are dying and they are stuck in there. I don't know what Hamas's war plan is, but it didn't look good. But they fired 3,000 rockets. If those rockets hit, they would have killed a lot of people, but they didn't. So now they look like they've bled more. The right thing to do is not to fire missiles and fire back and do all this. The right thing to do is to cease fire and try to figure out some common ground to stand on. But when to the people that are watching this that are on the Palestinian side, you got to understand who you're beefing with. I'm not going to sit here and fight somebody and someone stronger, faster, and could fuck me up, and I'm going to sit here and try to swing at their face to get my ass beat. Okay, I wouldn't want to do that either. They have precision-guided missiles, and what they did was they said they're going in on the ground. They lured the Hamas fighters into the tunnels, and then they bombed the tunnels, and there was probably more scenes like this going on in there. Very, very painful. Not the right smart thing to be firing missiles and beefing and doing all these things in the fucking streets. I'm trying my best. I understand the plight. The only thing to do is to find a common ground. But, who drew first blood? You could say the Israelis did it in the mosque or so on and so forth with the flashbangs, or Hamas did it with the missiles. Figure out who you want to do and who you want to this. Firing those missiles didn't do any Palestinians any favors, I'll tell you that much. Tweets and stories ain't going to do much for the Palestinian people either. Right? There's a lot of Muslim people suffering around the world in a variety of different regimes. Of course, there's also a lot of anti-Semitism because this is the one that gets attention when Israel drops a bomb. A tiny strip of fucking desert hanging on to life over there. People can't even get along on this fucking a little scrap of dirt that's out there in the Middle East. It's fucking tragic as fuck. But remember who is really to blame. Anybody on either side of the extreme is a fucking fool. If you can't find a common ground, you're the fucking problem. Because that's the reason why people can't get along. Someone's always screaming, my children, my children. This is what happened in the Diamond District today, on the other hand. I don't remember firing any rockets or whatever it is or whatever's going in. And remember, my name is Maksud Agajani. I have a Muslim name. I didn't have it easy when I went to visit Israel, so on and so forth. I have a Muslim father. I'm not sitting here doing one thing or another. But The reality of the situation is that people pulled up, they were beefing, and then what? Someone threw a bottle, and then a firework or explosion right here in the fucking Diamond District. I don't know. Now, was that really a good idea? You know what I'm saying? Do you really want to take a conflict? I don't remember calling in any fucking airstrikes. Nobody here did. What's the point of coming up in here and starting trouble? This is the nature of the game. They're upset, you're upset, he's upset, here's this, here's that. Don't forget who's to blame. Those who don't respect and understand what's going on the other side. I'm not too worried about a fucking firework thrown. But things are getting out of hand. Why bring a conflict? We're all in America. Why bring a conflict from over there over here? Not a smart fucking thing to do. I'm not doing that.